Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ears to the East, where we're just going to talk about 2024. We didn't really specify this one too much. We were just like,
No, we were just like, what are we looking forward to? What do we want from 2024?
quick context, Neon. It's not December the 27th. It's January the 1st.
Oh.
Assuming that I upload this at the right time.
Yeah. Fuck it, they won't know.
Yeah, so this exciting year that we've just begun. This basically we've got to be careful, neither of us to do something crazy and die on New Year's Eve. Actually, maybe we can do that.
Maybe we can do that. I mean, yeah. If I don't get clicks for that, then I don't know what. I'm not going to get clicks for anything else, am I? So
it was like I was in this cave and then I rolled away the rock. So wait a minute, I'm going to go walk on a swimming pool. So the resurrection of Neon. So 2020. We'll go back to year 0 and start counting again. So, like 2024. Well, let's be honest. We've already discussed. We've talked a lot about 2023. We did a whole video about it on this channel. We talked about the channel over 2023. We talked about music over 2023. It was a massive year for Japanese music. A big reason of that was obviously it was the year when finally Japanese music industry was completely set back to being itself after the COVID and everything had really kind of come to a close. So 2024, it's more riding off the wave of just how big 2023 was. So we got the discussion both of how Japanese music is doing overseas, but also how much new music is coming about in the country itself.
yes.
Obviously, we had a lot of artists who debuted during sort of COVID era who didn't really have a chance to spread their wings, but then really came into their own. I mean, you mentioned before all about artists like Ada. I mentioned, ironically, very similarly named Anna. There were these artists who, so a lot of them were making really their debuts.
Yeah.
Kind of, their debuts despite having already debuted. So 2023 was massive, but now this wave is continuing. So what are your thoughts on 2024? I mean, however you want to answer it, in the bigger scale, any particular examples?
I'm excited. Kind of what you said. I like pointing out that there's lots of new acts coming from like obviously COVID or what's after COVID. And 2023, you kind of really kind of picked up on that. But I want to do a quick shout to all the bands that unfortunately COVID kind of really fucked over. Because there was a lot of bands that tried to launch during COVID or just came out pre-COVID, were around for a couple of months, COVID hit, and then unfortunately just disappeared and had a slow, painful, miserable death.
I gotta let you deliver that with fucking drama. The sad state of their demise.
I know the sad state of their demise.
Documented on the annals of the internet.
I mean, the bands were created and then COVID came along and was like, you shall not pass.
You shall not debut.
Yeah, pretty much. And I feel this new sense of life, I think, with 2024, because we are going to get all these new acts, and you can kind of see it from the back end of 2023, but there are going to be all these new wacky bands and all sorts.
The new acts, though, or do you think it's about the acts? I mean, so much has come out that the industry feels quite saturated. I mean, I guess there's always going to be more, but are we more just kind of like, have we got as much as we can handle at the moment, and we're just going to have to see how these artists
we have not had enough, nowhere near enough. Like,
it's so hard keeping track of all this stuff. It's like there'll be artists who you're really into and you just didn't notice they had a new song because there's so many new songs happening.
That's the hardest thing, especially like when me and you both get into. I feel like me and you both touched on this, but in the opposite kind of ways. I feel like through 2023, I feel like you've been a little bit more rock orientated, like kind of picking up on that heavier stuff as well as your pop. Whereas I'm going the other way around. Like, I've been like metal and rock, but like really touching into like the J-pop segment this year. I feel a little bit more than I would usually. So it's like we're kind of doing like this crisscross here, but I feel like 2024 is going to be a good blend of everything. I'm excited to see what comes from it. I'm excited to see the new acts. Also, I'm excited to see what the current kind of slate of bands do. And if God fucking forbid, if Band-Maid or Love Bites don't fucking tour in Europe in 2024, I fucking riot, mate.
All right, I'm gonna pick up on this, right? So we had a comment when we did our video about 2023. We had a comment from someone who is actually a really good follower of this channel, who's been with us since day dot, really.
Oh, nice.
Who was saying about how, like, oh, Band-Maid have been doing a lot. They've been busy. They've been doing all these things. Give them a break. And so I was like, I wouldn't say that to someone in Europe right now. It's like,
No.
oh, they've been too busy to come to you. It's like, how many tours did you do in America? So look, I've said this before. Honestly, I'm a great believer that what Band-Maid are doing is brilliant commercially. They're tapping a market that is really interested in them. Supply and demand, I get that. But yeah, I'm going to say it, and I've said it so many times that I'm not going to milk the point, but I do really think that all these bands, Band-Maid included, need to remember there's a very fertile market in Europe.
Fucking Europe. No,
Yeah.
I don't hate the thing of that though. I see, because I see it from both sides. Like, I want the bands to be commercial. If they're gonna make a fucking penny from that, that's gonna go in their girls' back pockets at the end of the day. Who am I to argue? Like, you know, you only live once, you only become famous, and you hit your peak once. If they're gonna milk it, that's the time to milk it. Like, you know, let's not sugarcoat that. But I'm also on the other flip side. If, you know, all these bands, if Band-Maid break the American market, if Atarashi Gakko increase in popularity over there, you know, if Baby Metal keep touring and keep getting the attraction as well, that's only a good thing. The more Japanese music is an international phenomenon, the more that is recognized beyond its own borders, the more we get. I just wish that the more we get wouldn't keep being fucking America.
Actually,
you know?
I'm kind of inclined to agree, but I would say that I mean, this is one of the things I love about the Japanese music industry is that, don't get me wrong, obviously a lot of bands have American aspirations and worldwide aspirations. But I do think it is very much driven by the homegrown market. I mean, yeah, you will get bands like Band-Maid who seem to connect more with an international audience, and that actually drives them to bigger levels, as you've got with Ningen Is on their
I'm gonna pick up on I'm gonna pick up on that point, but I'm gonna let you continue.
Okay, so I'll just quickly round that off by saying, you know, bands like that, Nemophila, all these ones. But I think there is still, I mean, ultimately the scene exists because it is weirdly strong domestically as well. And so, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, that as much as you get certain bands who just happen to tap the international market, it is a lot to point out as well that the market without the international audience, who we are, is still very strong on its own. It's still very strong here in Japan as a contained thing. And I think that feeds the anomalies of the international successes as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good point, actually. Like, I just wanted to touch on that. I think like 2023 has been like that really kind of weird year where we've seen more international success, or more orientated international success. It's really weird. Like, for a lot of Japanese bands, they are very, like you said, domesticated in what they do. For many bands, it's primarily
successful.
Yeah, thank you. Domesticated. I mean, I wouldn't mind putting my Akko on a leash, but anyway, that's a subject for a different video.
I assure you, you do not have a strong enough leash.
No, you're probably right. It'd probably be me on the leash on hands and knees.
I was about to say, that's what you really want. That's what you really want.
Anyway, we're getting slightly off track. But yeah, a lot of these bands make their money and their, you know, make their bread basically in Japan. And I do feel like the success of a select few bands has been kind of garnered more internationally. And I think that 2023 is probably the first year where you see maybe a slight split in the music industry in Japan, where you've got those that are very much set in their old ways of tour in Japan constantly with maybe the outside international tour, compared to the likes of what, again, I'm gonna reuse the same bands because there's not many really to choose from at the minute. Band-Maid, Baby Metal, Atarashi Gaku, which are kind of breaking the traditional mold slightly and expanding somewhere new. Now, it's not like it's not been done before. I want to, like these have been done plenty of times, but I just feel like it's been done to such frequent
I think
an
if
extent now.
if I may just sort of like maybe add what I would consider to be the context on that, because I mean I agree. I read a really interesting article. It's actually very well written, which I kind of 90% agreed with, which was I can't remember who shared it, but it was on my Discord, which was talking about like how Japanese music's really broken out in 2023, how it had broken out in 2023 because it's 2024 now. And the funny thing is that I think that what can sometimes there's always like major moments, but I think what we're looking at here is the slow movement of a sliding scale.
It's a shift in the industry slightly. Like it feels like that.
I mean, the truth is that this is something that has happened ever since you go back to the days of like Princess Puffy. These are like the first signs of, and there was that what was it we in that what very early video we did where I can't remember, and there was like, was it some band, Pink Lady and Jeff? That's right. We found out there was a band called Pink Lady and Jeff, which was apparently a thing where Japanese music got heard on some terrible American TV show. Anyway, the point is that like there's been a slow progress, but obviously things sped up. You had, as I say, Puffy was a big thing in the early 2000s when that got some attention in America. Then obviously you had the bands like Scandal, where sort of a cult following happened. Then the big opening when Baby Metal came about in 2010, that was 2012, sorry, around that period anyway. And just slowly the door has been opening more and more. But obviously the big three things that have happened recently, obviously COVID got a lot of people interested in checking out more things online. The world has got smaller due to social media. People are consuming more foreign language content now than they ever did before. These things are all combining, and I must say that K-pop both opened up a much bigger attention to foreign language music being in the mainstream, but now K-pop has kind of played all of its hand. Its hand has kind of run out, and I've done videos about this. People disagree, but I think K-pop has not reinvented itself, which means as a result, it's starting to become old hat. It's starting to become something of the last generation. I mean, let's face it, it's been in the spotlight for a good 10 years itself. And as a result, K-pop, sorry, I'm getting this right. Yeah, K-pop is kind of slightly running its course, and J-pop is filling that gap because J-pop is now ever innovating, starting to produce music that is really capturing a lot of mainstream attention as well. So I think J-pop is just now is kind of the time. But just quickly as a quick addition to that, the point that you made that I think this is all kind of underpinning is that the Japanese music industry has always been out of date. As much as Japan is ahead of the curve in many ways, Japanese music industry is even more out of date than most. And we're talking about a country which has like some of the most amazing technology, but if you see the adverts from most companies, they'll have the telephone number
and the fax
and
number.
the fax number. I mean, it's like fucking, it's not 1984. And we're talking about a country that does get stuck in the past and various things. The music industry's been one, but it started to update, and COVID was a big part of that. When they realized how many artists we're doing well because of the online. Ningenis, one more thing. Ningenis for me was a massive point because Ningenis had been a breakout artist, I think in the late 90s, and then just kind of like petered along. And then suddenly Heart is Scat, they blew up online. And I think a lot of the industry looked around and went, they played to that and it was to their benefit. And slowly, the industry is modernizing here.
Well, that's what I think. I think we look at COVID as some of the bad things, but I actually think that COVID was a positive step for the Japanese music as a whole. Because you look at look at bands like
macroscopically.
Look at bands like Nemophila and stuff like that. I do not think that those type of bands would have got the type of traction they get today internationally and in Japan if it wasn't for YouTube and the way that they.
during, was it covers during
they
that time?
did covers and stuff. Like they were really active during COVID, which I really
That was
think
during COVID.
that was during COVID. And I think that
Oh,
really broke them out. Like they grabbed where
oh,
like
oh.
most Japanese acts were kind of like going into hiatus because of like COVID, because they couldn't tour. They really, and lots of other acts, Adobe being one of them as well, like really broke out in that time period because they were active. They were active when main bands weren't. And then once like the industry's kind of like rebooted itself and restarted itself, it tried to kind of go back to its old ways, but couldn't really ignore the fact that these other bands that had, like you said, through the internet, that had broken out or become popular over that the span of that 2 year period, it was really hard to kind of go back to that. So the music industry, I wouldn't say has revolutionized at all, but it
Mm.
certainly took a big stride in the right direction, especially for like again for international acts. And I feel like we're kind of seeing that now with more tours in America and stuff like that, because I mean, if there was ever a time to kind of like really monopolize that and really make the most, milk it, it really would be now, because you give it another year or two, and I don't think that opportunity would be there. So yeah, I kind of understand it, even if it does piss me off slightly.
Yeah. Um, I agree with the central premise of what you're saying there. I think that when it I think rather than going back to our old ways, I think the thing about the Japanese music industry is it tried to pick up where it left off.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, you know, the world was moving very quickly, and like some did and some didn't. I mean, I often pointed out that one of the interesting turning points was seeing how artists respond to doing those online shows. You know, they had bands like Band-Maid
But
who
that was it. That was
adapted
yeah.
so well. And then you had bands like Scandal who did a good job, but they just kind of like they were charging like venue prices, and you were like, oh, this is not really a wise idea. You should take advantage of this opportunity to charge cheap and get more fans. And then you have bands like Babe Metal who were in the process of disappearing anyway. So you had this very sort of weird mixture. But I think moving forwards into 2024, which I guess is really what we're supposed to be focusing on in this video.
Yeah.
But moving forwards into 2024, I think a lot of the bands who did well in that period, I think we're going to see them doing well in the future, because we're in that kind of online future, and some things about that I like, some things about that I'm not so keen on, but ultimately it's here and you can take advantage of it or you can't. But here's one question actually that I really wanted to ask you, and I guess this is the perfect
Question
opportunity.
time. Go on.
I think, is it just me, as well as it being like the age of the internet, do you think like 2024 and onwards, this is now becoming the era of the mini album?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like
I'm torn on that myself.
yeah, I'm torn on that as well. Like mini albums and singles and all that have always kind of been things. So like when a band brings out like a mini album or something like that, I kind of look at it in that kind of way, not like as an actual main thing. But you know,
It seems
that's
like
a
Trident
real
basically only released mini albums.
yeah, that's a really hard question. To be honest, I'd love to know what people think of that one. That's a really difficult one because I'm kind of split down the middle on that. Like, there's a lot of mini albums that recently that I wouldn't consider, like, should we say canon?
Yeah. I
And
see what you
then
mean. They
and
kind of they
then
don't feel like a proper release. They feel
they're
just
like
kind
a
of like a
proper
stepping
album. Like
stone.
they
Yeah.
seem like a little bit what they did again during COVID, or like a pre-release while they're
I think some people felt that way about Unleashed by Band-Maid. It was like it's kind of an album, but it also kind of feels like an addition to Unseen World. Yeah, it doesn't. It's hard to know whether it's
Yeah, well, Band-Maid tried doing that, didn't they? With the with the latest one, but I'm not having that. It's a fucking it's an album.
Really?
I still think so. I still
I
class
think it's
everything
too
about
short to be an album. To me, it feels like it feels kind of like them bringing Unseen World to a close more than anything. I don't know. It never really felt like something totally separate to me.
that. It feels like they just like did what they did probably during COVID. I don't think what they had with Momoko was I don't think they planned that, and then they kind of came and then they kind of planned
Are
around
we
it.
talking about different bands here? Wait, wait, sorry. I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about
Sorry,
fan base.
I
I'm
said
talking
baby
about.
metal. Yeah, they said
Oh, you said all right. Okay,
yeah, sorry.
right. Let me re-clarify my point, because I think we actually agree. Unleash I consider to be an EP, not an album.
Mm.
And the other one is an album.
Is an
not an EP.
album which
Okay,
they
we agree. Okay,
which they
sorry,
consider to be not an album, and I'm like, no, I'm not having that. It's an album.
yeah,
Unleashed
that's a
Unleashed,
fucking album.
yeah,
That's a fucking
Unleashed is a
album.
weird one though as well. I don't know. I probably would consider Unleashed an album.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some good songs on that one. I really enjoyed it as well.
Oh, with good songs on it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Band-Maid, isn't it? When they're not good stuff. But I don't know. Well, yeah, mini album. That's such a hard subject. That takes a better person than me to freaking break that one down because
there are none. There are none.
That's again, I can't because it really comes down to like individual basis. Like there's some that I listen to and I'm like, and then there's others I listen to and I'm like, okay, that's really, really fucking good. And I feel like that's part of the parcel. I feel like if it's a bit crap, it kind of gets swept on the carpet a little bit and the band moves on. But if it's really, really good, I feel like it gets a little bit more acknowledged and a little bit more love from the fan base. So
all right, maybe
it's a hard one, that one. Yeah, I got no answer to that one, unfortunately.
maybe on a different topic then. I'm kind of intrigued by what bands like I guess you're waiting for them to really click in 2024. You know, bands where it feels like they're going in the right direction and you're just kind of waiting for 2024, like could be their year, the year when they finally click and everything sort of falls into place. I mean, to be honest, obviously, I'm excited about the return of Silent Siren, which I think it's going to be interesting to see if they, as a three-piece, finally like find a new sound. I'd be really excited about that. But there's upcoming bands as well. I mean, Trident every year, I'm kind of excited because I think they're permanently on the rise.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was really impressed by how Chili Beans like kind of have developed over 2023. So I'm intrigued. I think they're going to probably land some big hits in 2024. There seems to be a lot of bands who are really starting to come into their own and create their own sound, I think, this year.
Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of what gets dropped. I think a lot of bands are definitely on the right track. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
With regards to Asterism, do you think Asterism are going to?
I was going to say Asterism, to be honest, but because we said them in the last week's recording, I didn't want to bring them up again. But Asterism are a good show. I'm kind of interested to see where they go as a band, especially with Hauker now on vocals, and whether or not they continue that or the next whatever they do is a instrumental. I'm interested to see where that kind of goes and develops. So yeah, they've definitely got my interest. Although we could say that maybe it's a little bit too soon to say. I feel like this year has been a really, really good year for Hanabiya. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do. Last year. Sorry, last year.
I think you got a point. Actually, I think like Hanabiya, yeah, that's going to be the big one.
And you know what? I wouldn't usually say them as well because I always again, it's probably the English in me that it feels like too soon that they would do something in 2024. Sorry, they would do something this year. But if there's anything I know about the Japanese industry is they do not stop. They love to pump content out.
Hanabiya have been very quick with their turnover anyway. I think they're aware of their success and they're capitalizing on that.
Yeah, I'm expecting something from the back end of 2024 by Unlocking Morpheus. I feel like we'll see something then. I'm kind of excited about Love Bites as well, although I hope that it's more touring for them more than an album. Although again, they release things turnover quite quickly. Band-Maid, new album as well. Really excited to see that.
I've been getting YouTube adverts for the Love Bites tour DVD. They've been pushing that really hard. Like every time I watch a YouTube video and you get the adverts, I keep on getting the Love Bites advert. I'm like, oh, I don't want to skip it. It's kind of nice. But I don't know if that's just in Japan. I guess it probably is.
I haven't seen it yet, but that's good. Yeah. So I hope we see something then. I'm excited for Baby Metal again. Probably a little bit too soon for them because we should maybe near the end of 2024 we should be hearing some rumblings. I think the first album with Momoko.
No, I want it to be soon. I think Oh, because we had Metally. Metally was so good. I'm like, I really want them to just like ride off this momentum. I
I
know
think
they
it's too
like to
soon.
give
They'll
others a
go to
run.
America first, so I don't think we'll hear anything from them
Ah,
like proper
but
till
can
we.
everyone get the fuck out of America? Come back to Japan and get in the goddamn studio. Band-Maid, Babe
um,
Mel, I'm looking at you. Get the fuck back in the studio.
yeah, so there's so many good bands kind of like in or around. To be honest with you, 2024, the beginning of 2024 kind of feels a little bit barren, but the
Well,
back end of 2024 potentially could
we've got
be.
Luminous by Scandals coming out in March
Hmm.
20th, for anyone who doesn't know. Brand new album coming out March 20th. I am a little bit disheartened by the fact that the first two singles and their B-sides are apparently from the album, meaning that we've already heard a third of the album, pretty much however you cut it. Unless it's more than 12 songs, we've already heard 4 of the tracks of it.
How do you feel
Which does
about
kind of that
it?
does kind of sting a bit, but still, that's still 8 tracks worth of Scandal yet to come in March 20th.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, yeah, there's so many good ways of looking at it. I'm optimistic. I feel like 2024 is going to be the best year yet. For a lot of
Better
things.
than 2023?
Yes.
I think
Like I said, I feel like we won't get the best of 2024 until the second half of it.
I would perhaps say that I think one of the things that's going to be quite noticeable is that I don't think we're going to have as many noteworthy moments. Because remember, like for me, like obviously in 2023 you had the Scandal 17th anniversary thing. That was just by sheer matter of time. But there was a lot of other moments that I think were waiting for post-COVID. Like Bish breaking up, Baby Metal announcing the new members, Band-Maid's 10th anniversary again was a matter of timing, but
Yeah.
also the big tours and everything.
Family's first album with Love Bites as well.
Yeah.
There
So I
was
think it was a mixture of post-COVID things, but also some things just coincidentally happening. I think there was so many major events in the Japanese music industry in 2023 that there's no way that I can see 2024 is just not going to have that many noteworthy events. But I think as a general, it's probably going to be more a year of just like seeing growth, seeing the solidity grow, hopefully seeing like a lot of new releases, a lot of bands pushing forward. So yeah, and I don't think we're going to have as many of those like, oh my god, newsworthy moments, but I think we're going to have a lot of music to talk about.
Yeah, I'm excited as well, just because like I said before, me and you kind of crisscrossing a little bit. I think I said, did I say that on this video or the last video? I can't fucking remember. But
What are you talking about? We record these totally separately.
um, I'm more interested to see kind of like what's in store for J-pop in 2024. And for me, that's more of like an unknown quantity. So I'm kind of like I'm excited to be surprised by that. Like that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping to see some acts that I enjoy and can really kind of root for.
I mean, I kind of like I'm in a bit of an odd place because I've always kept myself open to many different genres of music, as I know you have as well. So when it comes to Japanese music, I've kind of been following it all, but I can't help but feel that a lot of the time, like I mean, pop as a general is a much more varied thing, and I always we talked on this channel before about the fact that it's almost hard to draw a line around what pop actually is. So saying I'm excited about J-pop is kind of a bit of a mixed thing. I mean, do you include things like is Chili Beans? Is that pop? Is that rock? I mean, so
Well,
I mean,
that's the good thing about Japanese or J-pop or J-rock. I feel like there's a really, really good mix. It's not like again, I feel
fusion's
like
at the heart of what it is.
yeah.
Japanese music is built on fusion most of the time.
That's probably why I enjoy it a hell of a lot more than Western pop. Western pop, I just cannot fucking stand it. West J-pop, there is that rocky element to it. Yeah, there is that mix to it. Like some J-pop songs, could very much be rock songs. Because they are built that well. Then there's always the other flip side of it. And
Well, I think they're
really,
just
really good.
built. I
Yeah.
think it's more a case of like Japanese pop songs. They're just built as songs. And it's like, I mean, again, in the West, I mean, if you go back, actually, I'll give credit. If you go back in the West to like the 80s, there was a lot of 80s pop songs that were really well written.
Yeah,
even
yeah.
into the
That was
90s
like the
as well.
golden era. That was like the golden era of
Well,
music.
yeah, I think 80s and 90s, to a certain degree, 90s, there were some really well written pop songs. So I think we sometimes forget that rock has not always had a monopoly on well-written songs. I mean, if you go back far enough, if you go back into if you go back into like the 70s, I think it'd be fair to say that sometimes pop was producing the better written music. And yeah, I know there's going to be exceptions for people, but the thing is that that's something that was lost in the West. Was we kind of become used to the fact that pop is now just a sludge of common denominator bullshit, and Japan has not.
I know. How could
done
you?
that.
How could you not like great Western songs like "I whip my hair back and forth"?
I forgot that he had another child. I was already brain damaged by the first one.
I know.
After Earth, all you have is her. But oh god, yeah.
I take the piss out of her though, but I did a reaction to one of her rock songs that she did recently.
Okay,
she's actually really good.
really.
I will
okay,
give her that. I will give her.
I'm glad that as his son has become more and more disturbing, his
the daughter has actually
seemingly become more talented.
Yeah, the daughter seems more tolerable. No, she was generally. I can't remember what that song was, but somebody showed me. And as soon as I did have the exact same reaction with you, I was like, "Oh,
for
no,
anyone
really?"
confused, we're talking about Will Smith's children. And if you're confused by this, I'm genuinely glad, and I'm sorry that we're exposing you to this shit.
We've got completely off topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, she's surprisingly good. She got some good rock songs. There we go. Let's end it there.
And now completely forgetting about the Smith family. But I was.
How dare you?
Keep the Smith's name out of your
goddamn mouth.
That meme is already out of date, and yet it's still funny. So one thing I wanted to mention, because you were talking about pop, I was like, I mean, I know this is not like an it band who everyone talks about, but like Wasuta is a band that I know we've jokingly talked about. It's like a pop group, 4 members. Absolutely love them. They're so kid friendly. Like their music is obviously directed at a younger audience for the best part. But I tell you what, I saw this performance the other day of them doing. It's kind of like their title song. It's called World Standard Dance Club, and it was them doing it live with a live band in the background. And I just watched it, and I was like, the dancing, great, which you expect. The singing whilst they were dancing was exceptional. I mean, they're unbelievably good singers, but they were singing brilliantly whilst dancing. They had live music, which was really fun. And the live music couldn't help but just show you that the song as well is really well written. I mean, whether you like it or not, you cannot deny that is a really well written song.
Yeah,
it's not their only well written song.
Yeah, no, I got a little bit.
I was like, this performance would put to shame any girl band and most fucking rock bands from other parts of the world. You're like, they have basically just like wiped the floor with this little kids song. They've wiped the floor with most, not all, but a very large percentage of their contemporaries from the rest of the world in any genre.
I made a comment in one of my reaction videos just saying how like cute they are and their performance and the dancing. I said I said it was on par with Baby Metal. Never been able to live that down since.
Yeah, I love that.
I get constantly reminded of that. They're like, better than Baby Metal, Neil. I'm like, that's not what I said. But
I would say that, I just on the joking side though. Joking aside, sorry. Whether you like them more than Baby Metal is completely subjective. Obviously, Baby Metal are more popular, but whatever anyone thinks, like Wasuta for me. The talent. They are very good, really talented.
Yeah, it might not be the genre itself might not be to everybody's cup of tea, but you cannot not look at them and just not admire how they pull it off because it is exceptional.
Yeah. Which is all made much more funny when they're running around with a person dressed up in a fluffy outfit pretending to be a dog. and they're wearing cat ears, and it's just you know
they do
it
such
doesn't
stupid
quite.
shit, and I love it.
I love that because like most people would dismiss it as like, oh, that's just childish. It's like, yes, it is childish, and it's still fucking great music. It's like I love that. I love that. It's
It's
like
one
we
of
don't
those
even have
bands.
to take this shit seriously.
Yeah, it's one of those bands you feel like if you have to like introduce somebody to Japanese music that you have to like take their time with. Like I feel like you have to warm them up, you know, before showing them that. Because if you just show them that straight away, they're gonna look at that and go, "What the fuck is this?"
It's like basically that's the equivalent of like taking someone and like saying, "Oh, you've never swum before." It's like use the diving board.
Yeah.
That's the Japanese music introduction from like hell. It's like
That's like taking somebody to the fucking third diving board and just going.
You say you're scared of water.
Swim, bitch. But yeah, there's so much good stuff. I'm excited to see what they do as well for 2024. To be fair,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
there are so many good bands, so many good artists out there. Lisa as well had an incredibly quiet 2023. I feel apart from a few collabs, so I'm excited to kind of see what she does for 2024.
Yeah, the last thing actually I remember, like, and this is going, I know she's had stuff since then, but my last thing I really remember was when she had like that song, like, yeah, I think it was in 2020 or 2021, which was the song which was like this really nice song that just happened to be like the theme tune from like a Godzilla anime. I was like, hold up. You're doing like the Godzilla ballad. And then it was like, oh, Bish did a song for this as well. And Bish's song was like really hardcore rock. I was like, I don't think you read the assignment properly. But so Lisa is like, she's the queen of theme tunes though. So with the like anime is also having a bit of a resurgence of recent. So I mean, you could have called on the queen of theme tunes. So like Lisa's going to be there for that. I'm sure she's going to have some stonking theme tunes.
To be fair, I actually feel like I know we have this debate in my Discord about how shit fucking Amazon Prime and Netflix is at the minute, but props off to like Netflix because I feel like them making anime more accessible, I feel like really helps with the culture and stuff like that there as well.
I heard a lot of stuff about that. I mean, I'm not big into anime, but I heard a lot of stuff about the fact that they actually made a really good adaptation of you're gonna know the one I'm thinking of, the pirate one.
One Piece. Yeah.
One Piece. Yes. They apparently made a really good adaptation.
I haven't seen the live version of it yet, so I've got it's one of those shows I need to get round to.
I heard good things, so
yeah, but Netflix has been doing some really good animes, like some good Western animes. But they actually did the proper good thing, and they actually took some studios from Japan, but made Western anime, but they had it animated in Japan, and it has that lovely Japanese feel to it, but also being like a Western show, and I feel like that's the good mix to do it.
I heard that like Godzilla -1 was actually really good. And like I've only seen like the trailers from it, and the trailers from it looked like really good. And then I found out it was like made on like a $15 million budget. I was like, that is fucking cheap. I was like, so yeah, I think just Japanese like media as a general is like really powering ahead.
I mean, they had and I'm going slightly off topic here. We're running out of time, but they had the new Cyberpunk 2077 anime, and that was done by that was done by Studio Trigger, which is like a really awesome like Japanese centric like studio in-house studio.
Glitch?
Yes, but it was amazing. It was amazing to see. And it's something really unknown because you usually see all these big Japanese studios mostly in-house, and then obviously the West adapt what they do. So for them to actually make animes purely for Netflix, which is a Western thing, that's a relatively new thing, and it's really cool. I like that.
I suspect like places like Netflix probably realize there's a big Asian market of people who want streaming services as well. But yeah, I mean, so anyway, bottom line is Asian media seems to be taking off. I mean, we can't tell the future. This is just us waffling about stuff that we're interested about in 2024. And there's going to be plenty more things. So get in the comments to us what you think as well. But I think like Asian media is taking off, but Japanese media especially seems to be really hitting hard at the moment. So great news for the industry, music and otherwise.
What are you guys looking forward to for 2024? Let us know in the comments down below. Bands, anime, shows, media. Put it all down below. I want to see catch up on everything that you guys are wanting to look forward to. Do you wanna sign this off? Howard.
Yeah. So anyway, we've got like a few seconds left, so I'm going to tell you all to keep your ears to the east.
Oh, look at it. We're touching.
Oh, it's bit weird.
I want to touch you, Howard.
Oh, hello.
Oh, oh.
No.